Hello and welcome to Business Talks. I'm your host, Lonna Smith. And today we have a Spokane favorite on our set. We have Robyn Nance of KXLY. Everybody knows Robyn from, she's the news anchor for Good Morning Northwest with Derek and Mark Peterson. And that looks like a whole lot of fun every morning.
It is.
You guys look like you have a great time.
Yeah, we're a good mix,
Yeah.
for sure. We've been
Crazy
together for
Mark.
quite some time. Yeah, and you know Mark quite well.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mark's been on here and I think actually took over the whole studio when
I'm
he
not
was
surprised.
here. He just got married. We were at his wedding, right? That was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a good time. So, Robyn,
Yep.
let's get to know you. For people who don't know how you grew up and got into the media business, what does that look like?
Okay. Well, way back in 1960.
I walked to school in the snow.
I
uphill.
actually I grew up in Missouri, a really small town south of St. Louis, and grew up watching one particular station. And we literally got about one station where I lived. I was in the country. And I was fascinated with this particular woman, a female anchor. Her name was Karen Foss in St. Louis. She was smart and just eloquent, and I just always kind of wanted to be her. Then, growing up, though, in the town that we grew up in, there wasn't a lot of aiming high, So it was, I went to school to be a teacher because nothing wrong. Oh my gosh, teachers are amazing. So I don't want to say anything negative at all, but it was almost like your thoughts were you stay here in this town and you be a teacher, or you be a nurse, or you stay home and raise children. It was pretty much like that. Then I went away to school and I went into Illinois, another small situation, but it was a liberal arts school, so you were kind of forced to take classes outside of your major and try all these different things. And one of the classes I took was a TV class, a communications class, and I fell in love with it. So I still had my degree in teaching that I was going for, but then I really was like, oh, I'm torn. So I went to school a little bit longer and got 2 degrees, one in education and one in communications. Okay. And then interned at a really small station in Illinois, and then got hired from there and stayed there for a while and learned every job I could possibly learn there. Literally, I ran a live truck. I did weather for a little bit. I wrote the news. I edited. I feel like I did almost everything but sports there.
Yeah.
And I would have done it if they would have let me. But then started looking for a job, and Spokane had openings, and I was so grateful to, branch out.
Mm-hmm. Spokane for any reason? Did you have family here? Or there was just a job opening and you said, I'm going to go for it?
Well, at the time I was a newlywed, and we were kind of like, let's try an adventure. And so I actually back then you sent resume tapes out. They were literal,
Were
beta
they real,
tapes.
like real tapes?
It was like beta tapes or SVHS. I mean, it was, old school. Old school. So I literally was at the post office with stacks of tapes, sending them everywhere. Anywhere that had an opening, I was sending them. And from where I was, I think Spokane was one of the farthest cities away that said, would you, we would like to talk to you. And I said, okay, yes. So flew out here. I had interviewed at 2 other very different markets. And I loved Spokane, though. And so my husband at the time came sight unseen. I flew out here and I said, I really think this is the place. And so that was, but our thoughts were, we were going to come here for about a year or two. We'll come here for a year or two and then move back home. Oh, and that was 20, how many years ago? Yeah, we're looking at.
Oh, don't make me do the math.
Yeah, the math is, it's about 25, it'll be 25 years ago in this fall. Yeah.
You started when you were 10.
How did you know?
Well,
I was a prodigy.
I see. You were a prodigy.
I was a child prodigy.
I love it.
Yeah, so I came here to work at a different station. I actually worked at Creme 2 for quite some time. But yeah, so that's why I came here to take a job there. And then was there for a while, got some great experience. And then, life changes, things happen. And then an opening was just perfect timing for me at KXLY. And so I've been there for a really long time.
How long have you been there?
It's funny because I do the math too. So I came I interviewed when I was pregnant with my third child, and she's 18. So I started when she was an infant. Yeah, I started, she was born in November. Then I had this nice little time off to, bring her into the world and get my bearings with, 2 other kids. And then I started in January of 2003 there forever ago.
Isn't that crazy?
But it doesn't seem like it. It just flew.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Right?
So
Yes.
you've seen, now we talked a little bit off camera about this. You've seen a lot of changes. I mean, 25 years in the business.
Insane.
You've seen a lot of changes, especially what about women? Women in the business. Now, like you're talking about just the difference of sending off all your VHS tapes.
Yeah, right.
Is what changes have you seen in the industry just as it in regards to women in the industry?
Well, I feel like I started literally the week of the first Desert Storm. So I started in 1991, and we had one female anchor at the time. Actually, we had 2 at this very small station. One was weekends and one, but they were solid. They were solid women who actually, I believe, one retired from that small market, and then ended up staying there. But I feel like it came at a pretty good time for women, that it wasn't a total anomaly that you had women on the anchor desk and that kind of thing. But at the time, there were no female anchors in network news. I mean, granted, Barbara Walters had, doing her specials and stuff, but she wasn't on the main anchor desk. And
those were celebrity pieces too.
Yeah,
so,
yes,
again,
yes.
Not news.
Not hard news and not your day-to-day things. It was, so there was just not the expectation that was even in the realm of possibility at the time. I mean, I think we all thought, someday there'll be, but you never thought there'd be a woman by herself. Yeah. I mean, granted, you look forward. We've had Diane Sawyer, you had, Connie Chung for a hot minute. You had, so there've been some, but back then in the 90s, in the early 90s, it wasn't even a thought of. So, but at the smaller stations, tons of women, tons of really, smart women, and, and then some who figure it's not for them and they go places, which, I mean, you see that here. You see either people moving on a lot or deciding this isn't for them, and that's okay.
That's a good lead in. Do you, Turner, I mean, you've been at each of your positions for some time. Yeah. Do you see a lot of turnover in the news industry on the local level?
A ton.
Okay.
Well, if you think about just the people that you start to get to know when you're watching local news, and you really feel like, I really like that person, or when they start and you think, they're a little rough, but then you see their development, and then pretty soon they're gone. They generally, a lot of them have, aspirations to move on. Some of us really dig into the community and make it home and feel like, this is where you want to be. And I think that's what when you look at the anchor desk across a number of the, local stations, that you see, have known that person's been here since, as long as I can remember, or I hear that a lot. I grew up watching you, which in one respect you're like, God, yeah, I'm really old, so of course you did. But it's also like it's because there's stability, and people like stability.
They do. Well, the thing is, you're a member of everybody's family.
You hope so.
I mean, you're on TV, and they turn you on. They choose. There's a
choice.
I'm guessing a blessing. They choose to turn you on every day and on their TVs and bring you into their homes, so you become part of their daily life.
And I love that. I love that part about it. And when, and now with the advent of social media and how close everything is, I mean, before it was like you couldn't communicate directly. I just remember growing up and watching Karen Foss. There's no way I would have had a conversation with her ever. I lived in a small town. She was in the big city of St. Louis, and there was never going to be a connection. Now, oh my gosh, you just pop me an email, or you say hi on Facebook, or it's so instant and it's so available. In some respects, that's so wonderful. And in other respects, it can be a little much, because
people feel like you are their friend. They feel like you're part of the family. And I imagine those lines might get blurred sometimes.
Sometimes they do. And you don't want to be offensive, because some of these people are just, just friendly and mean no harm, but then sometimes it can be a little much, a little too close. So
Have you had a few of those situations?
had a few of those. Yeah. Usually just ignore or block, but usually just ignore because I don't want to be offensive back. You don't want to stir something up. So yeah, it's interesting. But so much, just talking about that, that's part of the grand changes that we've seen from way back when to now.
Accessibility.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest ones. And the immediacy of everything. It's
Well,
wild.
news is by the minute.
It
In the
really is.
past, it could be 24 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
Walter Cronkite. I mean, how delayed could that news be?
Oh, my gosh.
Had to be a couple days, maybe?
You could, I would think it would be within a news cycle, which would be in like, a 6-hour time frame or 12 hours or something. So if they had, if you have an evening news. And I remember what we saw, cutting promos, which would be, you tape a little segment that runs throughout the day and it would be like, breaking news. You'll see it tonight only on blah, blah, blah. Well, now it's like, people aren't going to wait for that. If you're talking about something big, they want to know what it is and they can find it.
Yes.
So you better make it available. That to me was a very, very hard shift to make because especially if you're working on something and you know that you have to develop it. I know our reporters have, worked so hard throughout the day working on developing something, but now they have to stop what they're doing and just tell you what they know and then put it together later. Where before it was your focus was just on doing the best news story you can, working on it all day. Now it's like, stop. You got to report what you know. Stop, take a picture, send it. It's constant.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Another change. So when you look back at your illustrious career, give me a highlight. What's a highlight when you think back? What kind of things have you experienced that you go, wow, I wouldn't have had this opportunity except for this venue?
Well, one highlight, honestly, for me was getting to go to Fairchild Air Force Base when President Bush flew in, the second President Bush, and it was amazing. It was amazing because I'd never been that close to all the Secret Service, and we had to go so early in the morning. And our show, basically it's like you with all the Secret Service and with just being on the Air Force Base is tough to get through with all the security. But then they pick apart your equipment and you have to go here. You cannot go here. Here. And it was so fascinating. And then we weren't close. We didn't get a one-on-one with him or anything, but we were close enough and to see him greet some troops and see him, come down the stairs of Air Force One. And it was really powerful to me. And I treasure that. And it's been years ago. I don't even remember the year that was. I was anchoring with Richard Brown at the time, so it's been a long time ago. But it was, I was doing evenings. When I first moved to KXOY, I did evenings for about 8 years. But that was a huge highlight for me. And then there are other just monumental things that were so devastating. The whole, September 11th, which we're coming up on.
9/11.
9/11. I was on the air in the morning when that happened. And I mean, I remember it so vividly. I remember Columbine. We were on, at work that morning, cutting in.
Sandy Hook. I mean, we could just
on and on and on and on.
But 9/11, and we're coming up on
the anniversary. Big one. Yeah.
Yeah, big anniversary.
It was wild. It was wild to think about all the major things that have happened, but it's nice to have the highlights too of the fun things, and then the fun things we get to do that other people wouldn't get to do. I got to fly with the Thunderbirds once, and my brother's a fighter pilot, so I was for years wanting to do that. So I mean, just really cool opportunities, and then to talk about what that's like, and to there's a lot of pride in that. Well, first of all, the military. I have such pride in our military, our armed forces family. But just some really cool opportunities.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I feel very blessed in that.
It's good. Well, and you think everybody looks at the news today and there's so much negative that when you get to bring in positive stories and community-minded stories, and which will lead into Teen Closet.
Yeah.
So tell us about Teen Closet.
So back in 2007, we opened this little boutique at the time called Teen Closet, and the deal the deal with it is so it's a nonprofit that I helped co-found. My co-founder is Linda Rogers, and she was a foster parent for 20 years and a foster parent recruiter. We met when I was doing stories called Wednesday's Child. They're weekly stories that we do with kids in foster care who are considered special needs, but really that just means that they're older than 8. Some of them
Okay.
do have different disabilities, but most of them are just a little too old, people want babies and without a bunch of baggage, and so that's hard for these kids. So I do stories with those kids. I met Linda. We were talking about other ways that people can help. A lot of people have big hearts and want to
Yes.
help these kids, but obviously everybody can't take in children. So we came up with this idea. We opened this free boutique for teenagers in foster care to just come and get clothes for free. And then the mission has just grown and changed. So now we are Teen and Kid Closet, and we basically clothe all the way from newborns to, young adults in their early 20s, kids who are now, used to be just foster kids, but now it's kids in foster care. It's kids considered in poverty or in homelessness, and we serve all of Eastern Washington, all of North Idaho.
Well, and you've included kids from Wishing Star,
And
so
we- well-
which we've been so grateful for. So just kids and families in need.
Well, and I think when you're talking about my job and community, and that's one of the things that I have loved so much about my job here in Spokane is that I've had the opportunity to really do really cool events. I've been to some Wishing Star events. I've been to a bunch of others. I've emceed stuff. I've just gone to hang out at them and to support, but then to also be able to see a need and to just kind of run with it and to see how generous this community is. You just put out, people just need to know sometimes about what you need, and they want to help, and that's been amazing to see.
I agree. We live in the most generous community
We
here.
do.
It's you just make a phone call and the needs are met. We see it over and over again.
Yeah,
How did COVID affect Teen and Kid Closet?
It sure did. So we did have to shut down for a couple of months.
Okay.
At the beginning of COVID, we shut down in, I think, like late March until I think June. And just mostly, I think there was so much fear around it and not knowing how we can bring people in safely. But we got help with the PPE and all that kind of wonderful stuff. And then we opened back up, and then we had to really limit the amount of kids that could come in at one time. But then we were able to, as the phases changed, we were able to bring in more. But we started noticing so many more people who wouldn't have needed the help before who needed the help. We were starting to get a lot of, laid off hospitality workers that weren't needing the help before. We had one woman who came in and she dressed really nicely and had like 4 teenagers, and she was in tears saying, I never would have imagined needing this, but thank you for being here. Thank you for helping. And she says, when I'm back on my feet, I will return the favor. And it's beautiful. And we hope that we're temporary for people. We hope we don't have to keep seeing them come back to see us, but we're there if they do need us. But
It's amazing. So if people want to get involved with Teen and Kid Closet, how do they do that?
we have a website, we have a Facebook page you can pop on. There's all kinds of opportunities. If you want,
You want to tell us the web
yes,
address?
it's teenkidcloset.org. No and. Teenkidcloset.org, or you can find us on Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook, and I always am posting things and
Please
sharing
do.
things.
She has a great Facebook page. It's fun.
It
You
is,
have a
I
great
try to make
Facebook
it pretty
page.
light.
It
Sometimes
is.
it
It's
gets
good.
heavy, but I figure there's so much heavy out there. I'm, just pop in. Like today, show me a picture of your dog. That kind of stuff.
You will get 5,000 responses
It's
when you ask
amazing.
for a picture of dogs.
It's amazing, but
That's
it's
it.
also great. Wait, put your pictures up of your puppies.
I
You
will. I will
should.
go on
They're
after
so
I'm done.
precious.
Yeah, there's something. They've been called dust mops, but that was
so
recently.
Well,
there.
so people can donate to us. We
Okay.
always need cash. Doesn't everybody? But we
Yes.
have to keep operating. We always need, donations, really good things. Our goal really is to have kids who come and shop feel like they're in a store that's just for them.
Yes.
And we want them to feel special. And it's all about dignity. We love brand new things because a lot of these kids don't have things that have tags on them. So it's really cool. We do take some gently used things. We cannot take gently used underwear or socks or bras. So
Thank
those,
you.
pretty please.
Thank you.
Pretty please don't bring those to us. We have donation information on the website, and volunteer information if you want to come and help sort through stuff, or if you really like to work with the kids. We love it. We need help.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We've got some more heavier topics that we're going to address in a part 2 here, if you don't mind staying.
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today, and we're going to roll into a part 2 here with Miss Robyn Nance. Thank you for joining us on Business Talks. I'm Lonna Smith.
The world has changed a lot in 50 years, and Kimley Haygood has changed with it. We still provide our customers with the highest level of service, whether it's financing, construction management, property management and maintenance, leasing, or sales. Our team is here to help you make the best decisions with your real estate.